tribute today involves skiers?
A little bit of class.
A little bit of class?
A little bit of royalty. There's also almost something aristocratic about the Olympian anyway, as though he or she is born to athletic royalty, the proud carriage on skis or skates or flying down an ice tunnel on runners. In reality, it tends to be a mere illusion, except as we show you in this edition of the Games of '92 in one particular case. Look hard at this young man and tell me what you see. Okay. Hint. He's a bobsled driver, been to the Olympics. We'll be there again. Does that change what you see? Okay. This is Prince Albert of Monaco, the son of the late Princess Grace. Now, how do you see him? Of course, the powerful forehead, the royal carriage, the studious gaze, the body of a black belt. Of course. Doesn't every country have a prince in the driver's seat?
Probably at first there was a certain element of what is this guy doing here? But I think I've proved, and my team has, that we were in here for the sport and not so much for the hoopla. It's taught me a lot about myself, and it's really taught me a lot in my relations with other people. Plus, I think it's been very good for me to get away from Monaco and to do my own thing. I do what I do, something I really enjoy doing.
First impressions aside, Albert Grimaldi of Monaco is indeed an unassuming-looking fellow. Even when he and his teammates find a rather ironically named shop in a mall one day, a partner has to show the name Monaco on his T-shirt to gain belief. Oh, one still knows this is the prince of all things.
Probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Super guy. I have nothing bad at all to say about him. Around bobsledding, yeah, he's just another grease monkey working on the sleds.
At the 1988 Olympics in Calgary, Prince Albert and his team finished 25th out of 38, and nobody was the least bit surprised. Despite his competitiveness, Albert is too slight to be an effective sledder, losing valuable seconds at the top of the track, and yet here, on his feet, he dreams of what might be, closing his eyes and imagining the Albertville walls flying by him, the sled steady in his royal hands.
In the two-man, I really hope for a top 20, but that's going to be very difficult.
If not impossible. This prince does not rule here, cannot legislate medals here. But in case anybody would like to trade, this fellow has a Legion of Honor and a Lion of Senegal he might swap. Games of '92 run in this time slot every day throughout Albertville as we introduce you to the people who will become a little bit of part of our lives throughout these Olympic Games. And we will have a birthday party when sports returns to CNN on early prime at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Lou?
All right. Look out the wall! Come here, Cal. I'm the greatest thing that ever lived. Because there's a good man to whoop me. You look at me, I'm loaded with confidence. I can't beat me. I have 180 amateur fights, 22 professional fights, and I'm good as a girl.
Wow.
He was still Cassius Clay back then, wasn't he?
He was, but not for long.
Yeah.
He was the best. Draws great notice, of course, simply because it is so difficult to believe, and it mirrors our own mad march through life. The years racing away that Muhammad Ali could actually possibly be 50 today. When we knew him as Cassius, when we knew him when he beat the Bad Bear Liston, when he stood this world on its ear. Could it possibly be so? He glides at half-mast now through his life. Short, stubby steps, glazed and almost unseeing. Thickened and stooped as though desperately tired of dancing. But if you punch the right button on his metal jukebox, you will see the spark again for a moment. Muhammad Ali, nee Cassius Clay, a.k.a. the most magnetic athlete in the history of any planet known to mankind, has turned a half-century. On him it looks old. No, make that impossible. Nicholas wins at 50. Shoemaker did too. One wonders how the shuffle would change on Ali, from doddering fool to tippy-toe dandy, if he had a senior tour for sustenance. They tell us he is not well, that demons inside and out are taking their toll. 50 then seems 70, and an adoring world mourns as though he had left it years before, and perhaps he did. What are we to expect, after all, when a boxer turns 50, even one as stylish and elusive as the Grand Ali? For every Sugar Ray, a dozen Joe Lewises. For every Graziato, 100 Bojacks. Ears and noses, brains and souls were not meant to take that kind of beating. So how do we celebrate this man's arrival at a half-century? with sadness at what he is, or gladness merely that he was.
Well, Bodine, come here. Bodine, tell him, what are we going to do? You're going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Ah, rumble, young man, rumble. Ah.
From princes to paupers to what he lovingly called the Pope of Rome, they loved and admired, even worshipped the man, and he bathed in that supplication, and it made him larger, much, much larger than life. And perhaps that is why the Ali today, 50, going on 70, is hard for the world to accept, and why now we bend closely to hear the whispered wisdom, hover awaiting the momentary spark as though it represents a link to a better, sweeter time. And he knows that, and he rarely disappoints us, rising, if only for a split second, to the giant he once was, and will always be in our hearts. Muhammad Ali marks this moment in his life with a private birthday party tonight in Los Angeles. No more thrillers in Manila or rumbles in the jungle for him. More when sports returns on The World Today at 6 o'clock Eastern. Lou?
Nice, Jim. Thanks. Just ahead, a cold snap.